welcome. You're watching the NewsHour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today, the statue of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was unveiled in the Central Vista Avenue. The jade black granite statue was installed under the same cupola that was designed by Sir Edward Lutyens, where a marble statue of King George V stood until 1968. Today, as the Prime Minister unveiled Netaji's statue under the same canopy, there was a fresh debate. A debate about legacy, history, memory and politics. The Prime Minister, soon after the unveiling, spoke of how the country could have achieved great heights if it had walked in the footsteps of Netaji after achieving independence. But unfortunately, soon after 1947, he was forgotten.
अगर आजादी के बाद हमारा भारत सुभाष बाबू की राह पर चला होता तो आज देश कितनी ऊंचाइयों पर होता। लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से आजादी के बाद हमारे इस महान नायक को भुला दिया गया। उनके विचारों को, उनसे जुड़े प्रतीकों तक को नजरअंदाज कर दिया गया। आज देश का प्रयास है कि नेताजी की वो ऊर्जा देश का पथ प्रदर्शन करे। कर्तव्य पथ पर नेताजी की प्रतिभा इसका माध्यम बनेगी।
So finally, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose might have been given his due. The question though is, why so late? Why was the legacy and memory of Bose minimized? Was it because otherwise he would have perhaps dwarfed leaders of the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty who have held sway over most of the tellings of the freedom struggle, or such are the charges.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining us now on the debate, we have Charu Pragya, spokesperson of the BJP, Chandrachud Ghosh, author of Netaji's biography, Dr. Naval Kishore Yadav, national spokesperson of the RJD, Kapil Madan, political analyst. But my first question is to you, Sushmita Dev, MP and national spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. The politics of Netaji, or rather the politics over Netaji, continues even after and even as his statue was unveiled. Is it because there is a sense that the Prime Minister has walked away with some credit of honouring icons of the freedom struggle like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose?
See, if the Prime Minister of India decides to make a statue of any freedom fighter or any nationalist and unveils it, I don't think it should make anyone insecure, and it does not. I mean, if he's trying to capitalize on it, that's a different thing. And I also think I heard his speech live on television. You know, pitching one freedom fighter against the other is also wrong. And I feel that everything doesn't have to be about politics. When you unveil the statue of a great nationalist like Netaji, which the entire nation reveres, you need not have politicized it, which he did. So obviously, otherwise a simple function, a neutral function, unveiling a statue of a national figure, who has such a rich legacy, was politicized by the Prime Minister. So it is he who made it controversial. That's what I think.
Charu Pragya, politicization of what should have only been about paying respect to Netaji's memory and his history.
Padmaja, Prime Minister Modi and Bharatiya Janata Party, since we have come to government, we have ensured that we are giving the due regard which is deserved by India's freedom fighters, those who have played a role in shaping India to what it is today. So whether it is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, whether it is Swami Vivekanand ji, whether it is Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, it is this government and it is this leader, Modi ji, who's ensured that they are getting a place where they deserve that place to be. Why is it that for all these years, for 75 years plus of Indian independence, nobody has thought to honor these figures who have made India what she is today? And I think this is one step forward. We are just giving a patriotic facelift to places which were stamped with colonialism till today.
Okay,
So
we are
replacing
replacing because this is only about Netaji. Nobody is politicizing it, Sushmita Dev, but he is making a statement of fact when he is saying, well, all this while in the last 7 decades, he was deliberately sidelined. For some reason, he was never acknowledged the way that he should. And he is dedicating now Netaji's statue to the country. How is that politicizing? It's a statement of fact.
See, Padmaja, let me tell you something. Now, let's not exaggerate everything. It's very simple. It's not the first time that Netaji's statue is being unveiled in this country. I mean, from where I come from in Assam, there's a Netaji statue. In Calcutta, there's a Netaji statue. So Prime Minister is not the first politician who's paying respect to Netaji by making his statue in Delhi. But yes, we welcome it. There's no issue with it. So don't make it sound like he's the first in history to ever give respect to Netaji. I think that's pushing it a bit too far. I mean, that's what I think. I mean, it's all right. He's done it. We accept it. We respect it. But don't make it sound that nowhere else in the country has anyone ever paid respect to Netaji, and he's the first leader to do it, like in the honorable spokesperson of the BJP is
Chandrachud
making it
Ghosh, is
sound.
the BJP and the Prime Minister trying to piggyback on Netaji's legacy by making it seem as if he is the first and the only politician to have recognized his contribution to the freedom struggle? Sushmita Dev is saying we've done it everywhere. It's happened in Bengal, it's happened in Assam, it's happened all over the country. Everyone's done it.
I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to talk like a politician. But to compare the statue of Netaji in Kolkata, Stamp Bazaar 5-point crossing with Netaji's statue in the heart, in the nerve center of politics in the capital of the country, I don't think that's a fair comparison. And nobody is saying that Netaji was never honored, but to put him in this place, replacing the King Emperor who was standing there tall till 1968, that is making a statement. There is a huge lot of symbolism and meaningful symbolism in there. It's not hollow symbolism. And I have to, but Netaji was a politician. So what kind of sense does this sentence make that don't politicize Netaji? If you don't politicize a politician, then who do you politicize? He stood for certain values. He stood for certain political ideals, vision, and the various political parties have tried to appropriate them fairly, unfairly, and that battle is going on. And that's a fair battle, I would say. And here, I don't have any grudge against the Trinamool. Mamata ji has always spoken in favor of Netaji. She has been one of the few individuals who has consistently, since the mid-90s, raised and stuck to her demand for knowing the truth of Netaji's fate. And we have always, as campaigners, researchers, and historians, we have always extended our support. But if somebody wants to take out the political opposition against Modi ji or BJP through this issue, then I have nothing to say. I am not getting into that kind of debate. But Congress particularly has a lot to answer for. Why? Some very pertinent questions is why there was no Netaji's portrait in the Central Hall of Parliament till 1978. Why were the non-controversial files related to the Indian National Army not declassified till 1998? Why were those files related to Netaji not declassified till 2010 and 2015-16? So these are very factual questions which somebody has to answer for.
Okay, so it basically falls upon you then, Kapil Madan, as a defender of the Congress. Ultimately, and we can't be blamed for this. I was actually asking questions of the Trinamool Congress, but Chandrachud Ghosh has circled it back to you, the supporter of the Congress. Go on, Kapil Madan. Much to answer for.
Yes. So, Padmaja ji, I find it a little amusing when an argument is made that because we had a colonial past, we want to make Netaji's Murti there, the statue there. because we want to get rid of our colonial past. So I would like to ask this government, of course.
No, so wait, I think we are confusing two debates here. Today, or at least this debate is purely about Netaji's statue being there in the heart of Delhi. The colonial past is a separate issue, that of Kartavya Path and Rajpath and all. This is only about Netaji. Why wasn't his portrait there in Parliament for the longest time? Why wasn't his statue there in central Delhi for the longest time? That is the question.
Now, I mean, you may argue why it is not there. Why it is not there? I would argue that since you have established Netaji's statue there, at the India Gate, why not in the South Block? Why not between the South Block and the North Block? If you argue like this, no, you should have Netaji's statue at this place. I think we will not have any a plausible conclusion. But what?
No, sir, I think that's a little bit of a facile comparison. There are places in our cities which are places of pride, which is the heart of our national capital. That is why in the heart of your national capital you have samadhis to our prime ministers, right? You don't make it in Shakarpur.
Now,
you put it in central Delhi.
At this place, what was there at this place before the statue? At this place there was Amar Jawan Jyoti that was that used to flame in the memory of the soldiers that fought the 1971 war. Now, are you trying to undermine the contribution made by the soldiers who led their life in the 1971 war?
This is a very vague and irrelevant point. I will give you another example, okay? In 2021, actually, Subhash Chandra Bose's daughter, Dr. Anita Bose, this is not about his statue. This is about slighting him in various ways, sir. And again, I'll get back Chandrachud Ghosh to ask you that. This is not just about his statue here. This is, for example, when Anita Bose said that why was he not conferred Bharat Ratna for the longest time when far less deserving people have been given the Bharat Ratna? The issue of the portrait has already been asked of you.
Yeah.
Answer those issues.
Bharat Ratna, I would say Bharat Ratna is not meant for him. It's just like Bharat Ratna cannot be given to Gandhiji, Bharat Ratna cannot be given to Netaji. There are certain figures for whom certain titles are not suitable or appropriate. So we have to make the distinction here. But the central question is, there has been a very deliberate sidelining marginalization of Netaji through all these 7.5 decades to champion, to prop up an alternative narrative which suited the political party which was in power. And Netaji's narrative, the truth about him, his vision would have been very inconvenient to them. So it was necessary for them to survive, to carry on in power, to subvert, to brush under the carpet Netaji's
necessary
narrative.
For who? And, necessary for who?
For the Congress party who have been in power for the longest time.
Kapil Madan, circles back to you. For Congress to remain relevant in the way that they wanted to, as the fiefdom of one dynasty, others needed to be sidelined. Sardar Patel needed to be sidelined, Netaji needed to be sidelined, and that's what was done.
Well, that's a very illogical argument. When you have nothing else to say, you bring dynasty in between, and you forget the kind of dynasty you have in the BJP. In fact, if you look at the list, there's the longest list ever that has ever existed.
Sir, again, let me hold you only to the issue at hand, which is what is the kind of Congress? There was a Congress, and now the Congress we know is Congress I, which was in the mold of Indira ji. That is the Congress that we see today, which was Congress I. And now it is Congress G, in a sense.
Now what this government is trying to do, this government is trying to now start a debate which freedom fighter was bigger, which freedom fighter neglected the other freedom fighter. Is this the debate which will take the country forward? Can we say that no? Can we say that no?
Actually, it is the polar opposite. The debate today is that everyone fought for our freedom. Then why don't we reminisce about all of them in the same fashion, sir? It's the polar opposite. But let me bring in Dr. Naval Kishore Yadav as well. Do you think that installing Subhash Chandra Bose's statue is trying to pit one against the other? Rather than honoring him, it is about pitting him. Dr. Naval Kishore Yadav.
Yeah, it seems even more than that. Those who do not have answer for the past 8 years of rule will naturally go to the history of freedom fighter. They will not explain what their icon, whom they have been believing till today, whom they oppose till today, Gandhi, they don't have answer to that. That they will naturally go to history and say so many things which does not make any difference to the status and a statue of Subhash Chandra Bose. He was a great person, great freedom fighter, does not need the support and certificate of Bhajpa, BJP. So that is another thing.
But it is celebrated, right? You cannot say हम great हैं, but कोई हमारे बारे में बात नहीं करेगा. कहीं तो उनको आप जगह देंगे ना, जिससे उनकी greatness दिखे.
देखिए, अगर आपको नहीं दिखता है तो ये तो अलग बात है, लेकिन हमने स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों को कब सेलिब्रेट नहीं किया? वो चाहे गांधी हो, चाहे अंबेडकर हो, चाहे सुभाष चंद्र बोस हो, चाहे जो भी फ्रीडम फाइटर हैं, उन सबका हम सम्मान करते हैं. आप तो ऐसे बोल रहे हैं जैसे भाजपा के आने से ही स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों का सम्मान बढ़ा है. व्हाट ए ग्रेट थिंग दैट यू आर स्पीकिंग. आज पद्मजा जी आप फंस गए हैं डिबेट का टॉपिक चुनकर. आप टॉपिक ये चुनकर फंस गए.
नवल किशोर जी, आप हमेशा आकर के मेरे शो पे मेरा एनालिसिस क्यों करते हैं? आप टॉपिक के एनालिसिस 30 सेकंड करते हैं, बाकी के वक्त फिर आप मेरा एनालिसिस करते हैं कि मैं क्या कह रही हूँ, मेरा क्या सवाल है. मेरा सवाल सिर्फ नेताजी के ऊपर है. इसलिए नहीं है कि उनको अगर हम स्टैचू नहीं बनाएंगे तो वो महान नहीं है, पर जो महान है उनको कुछ तो रिकग्निशन देंगे ना. सेंट्रल हॉल में किसी की पोर्ट्रेट क्यों लगती है? ऐसा तो नहीं है ना कि आप पोर्ट्रेट नहीं लगाएंगे तो वो महान नहीं होंगे, बट वो महान है, इसीलिए तो हम पोर्ट्रेट लगाएंगे ताकि हम उन पर माल्यार्पण कर सकें.
ये बात तो यही है ना कि जो सरकार अपना कर्तव्य पिछले 8 साल से नहीं निभा पाई, वो राजपथ का नाम बदल के कर्तव्य पथ रख दे. अब बताइए कितना जबरदस्त ये नैरेटिव है.
अच्छा, ये बताइए सर कि अगर महानता को स्टैचू की जरूरत नहीं होती तो पार्लियामेंट के परिसर में गांधी जी की स्टैचू क्यों लगाइए? हटा दीजिए ना. गांधी जी की स्टैचू कहीं भी लगाने की क्यों जरूरत है? वो तो खुद ही में महान है, हमारे राष्ट्रपिता है.
अब देखिए, यही तो पद्मजा जी आपकी मुश्किल है कि आप एक स्टैचू लगाने के लिए देश के सारे स्टैचू को हटाना चाहेंगे कि अगर उनका स्टैचू नहीं लगेगा तो देश में जितने भी स्टैचू है उसको आप हटा दीजिए. गांधी को हटा दीजिए, अंबेडकर को हटा दीजिए. देखिए, प्लीज डू नॉट लेट history to be established the way BJP want to establish.
Okay, you are writing it in your mode. The same allegation that was made against you when you made the Statue of Unity is now being made about this statue. You are trying to grab at icons from other parties because you have none of your own. It was Sardar Patel first, and it is Netaji.
Very true.
Charu Pragya.
See, Padmaja, you know, this political debate is unfortunate today and very sad to hear this. The fact of the matter is that if our freedom fighters have been celebrated all along, why is it that our children are not growing up seeing statues of them at important places? And the place is of a lot of importance. I heard the TMC spokesperson say that we have many statues of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in Bengal. But I am asking him, isn't there a lot of importance of where this statue has been placed today? This used to be the seat of the colonial power. The British king used to stand here, and in place of that today we have a leader of our freedom struggle. I think that is symbolic. That goes a long way in teaching the next generation what is important. Going forward, India is reclaiming its glorious past. We are celebrating every single freedom fighter, every single one. Sir, I'll appreciate it if you don't interrupt me. आपके बीच में मैं एक बार भी नहीं बोली. आप थोड़ा सा शिष्टाचार रखिए इस डिबेट पर. आपके बीच में मैं नहीं बोली. आपके बीच में मैं नहीं बोली. मैं अपना उंगली उठाकर वेट कर रही थी. अब आप अपने बोलने के समय का इंतजार करिए. शिष्टाचार आपका मैं देख रही थी. आप एंकर को भी क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं, मेरे बीच में बोल रहे हैं. तो आप शिष्टाचार की चिंता करिए. मेरा जब समय पूरा हो जाएगा तब आप बोलिएगा.
क्यों नहीं अप्रिशिएट कीजिए? आपका काम करती है.
Get back my time without being interrupted.
Okay, 30 seconds, and I will let Sushmita Dev answer because you addressed your question to her. Yes, 20 seconds more, please. Then I'll go back to Sushmita Dev. Yes.
Yeah. So correct. Completing what I was trying to say, I think this goes a long way, and those who are calling it symbolic, it's as symbolic as you wanting to celebrate your birthday every year and saying, "Aiye mujhe wish kariye." Why is symbolism also not important? This is also not a either-or situation. This is not like the work of the government is not being done brilliantly on ground. In fact, the last 8 years can be compared to the past 70, and it will still come out so much more favorable. So when we can do brilliant work on ground, make sure our country is progressing, why not also take care of these symbols which are very important going forward into the next generation? I'm the mother of a teenager. I want my son to go and visit the Statue of Unity. I want him to go now to Kartavya Path and see Netaji's statue. Why not? And why has nobody else thought of it before today?
Why has nobody else thought of it before today? BJP again asserts one. And two, if this is not about Mr. Modi doing anything great, then why is there an insecurity in the Trinamool Congress Sushmita Dev? Because this is not the first time. Today the Chief Minister did not come for the unveiling ceremony. Earlier in 2019, when Netaji's 125th birth anniversary was celebrated as Desh Nayak Divas, then you had Mamata Banerjee leading a 7-kilometer foot march from Shyam Bazar to Netaji's statue on Red Road in Kolkata, and she said that the BJP is celebrating Netaji's birthday only in years when election is scheduled. Subsequently, when there was an event that was organized to celebrate his birthday, then Ms. Banerjee left the stage altogether. Is there an insecurity that there is the Prime Minister who is being seen as a bigger champion of celebrating Netaji? And it's been seen through a number of events. Sushmita Dev.
See, unveiling the statue or making a statue of a patriot is not a matter of competition. And let me tell your viewers that Mamata Banerjee, Chief Minister of Bengal, today had a very big workers' meet in which she said that today I have come to this meeting after paying my respects at the Netaji statue in Kolkata. And she made it very clear that once again, Mr. Modi, found an opportunity of insulting a three-time Chief Minister. An invitation goes to her written by an Under-Secretary. Today with Mr. Modi, who all did we see on stage? We saw Meenakshi Lekhi ji, we saw Hardeep Puri ji, we saw the Culture Minister Meghwal ji. All it took is for maybe the Culture Minister to write to her or even pick up the phone and call her. So why she didn't go is not about Netaji's statue, but it's about a consistent pattern that the central government has vis-a-vis state governments in which parties are in power, which is not theirs, but the opposition parties. So that's what she said. So I don't think her not going there is about Netaji. So I just wanted to put that on record. And there is no championship here. If the children of our country and the new generation, can see a statue of Netaji at such a primary occasion, we have no problem with it. But it would have been very, very dignified and a proper thing to do to invite her properly. You see, when someone wins with a mandate for the third time, you have to respect it. Today I may like Mr. Modi, I may not like Mr. Modi, I may differ in his ideology, I may oppose him. Fact is, he's the Prime Minister. So I have to maintain certain decorum if I'm inviting him to my state. That's all this is about.
But the Chief Minister herself had walked off the stage where the Prime Minister was present when the 125th birth anniversary of Netaji was being celebrated in your state, in your city.
Thanks for bringing it up, Padmaja. Yes, exactly.
Speaking of decorum, the CM had walked off.
You see, I'll tell you something. We've seen Prime Minister Modi also walk off television shows. But what I'm saying about this particular thing is that you don't get an Under-Secretary to write to Prime Minister Modi.
Government program, ma'am.
The television show is not a government. You want to talk about decorum, the Prime Minister doesn't even come to Parliament. Now please, let's not go down that road. A Prime Minister of this country doesn't talk to journalists, doesn't come to Parliament, never seen him in the Rajya Sabha except when the Vice President is leaving. So let's not go about decorum and protocol. In the Prime Minister's question, has he ever answered a question?
Okay.
He's not there.
We were talking about the Netaji issue in particular. Let me again bring back Kapil Madan. Kapil Madan, it's quite amusing today when everyone says, oh, Modi's making such a big deal about it as if he's, some great champion. He's done nothing big. Anyone could have done it. But why didn't anyone do it? That is the point. What stopped you? You should have sat on stage. Mr. Gandhi should have sat on stage. Dr. Manmohan Singh should have sat on stage 15 years ago and done the same thing. Then people have called you a great champion. What stopped you?
Now, Padmaja Ji,
from declassifying the files, from installing the statue, from giving him the same recognition and giving Sardar Patel the same recognition.
So, Padmaja Ji, one thing is very, very clear that we are basically having this debate because we are all assuming that the place where this statue has been installed, the place holds, some sort of a significance. Now, I will just say here, now, once you have a place where there, exists a practice where you are, laying a flame that was called Amar Jawan Jyoti. If the statue was to be built, you could have, why would you use that particular place where the 1971, in the memory of 19 people who have led their life in the war, and in their memory the flame was being kept
Amar
there.
Jawan Jyoti
Why
was
would you
here.
choose that particular place?
Under this canopy, King George V, his statue was there until 1968. They're two separate places. This is not the same canopy. I think you're confused.
No, Padmaja ji. So I think the entire debate is about the place. So I would just say here, I mean, this is not the first time where Netaji's statue has been built in the country. We've all read about Netaji in books, in school textbook. So to say that you have not
Okay,
given
so
the kind of,
where are the places where you have put up Netaji's statue to honor him?
So
the
if you
Congress
want a
party.
list, I will dig out the list and I'll give you the list. If you want
Because I
all
dig.
the list where in the country where...
And I didn't come up with much. Let's try and ask Chandrachur Ghosh that. Chandrachur Ghosh, can you please help out Kapil Madan here? Has the Congress done its own share by putting up Netaji's statues to honor him? In places other than what Mr. Modi thought of?
As far as the Congress is concerned, I can see much more than an effort to suppress for the longest time possible to any information on Netaji. As I said, the INA files, even the non-controversial INA files, they had to be kept secret under lock and key till 1998. Why? The INA was wrapped up in 1945. The World War ended in 1945. So why wait till 1998? And whenever we asked for any document about Netaji, even in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 2010, all that we were told was that revealing these documents would spoil the relation with foreign countries and create internal disturbance. So my question is, when the whole load of documents were declassified because of our campaign, because of the Central Information Commission in 2010, and then again by Modi in 2015, by Mamta ji in 2015-16, was there internal disturbance? Was our relation with foreign countries spoiled? So why give these lame excuses to keep one person under the wrap all the time for 7 decades?
All right, I'm going to leave it at that. There should be no war for credit over somebody's legacy and somebody's memory. But if there is one person who has tried to finally give our icon his due, something that was denied all of this year, one has to recognize that as well. Anyhow, now Kartavya Path and the Central Vista Avenue is open to the public. You, the people, are the best judge. Go, give us your feedback. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, Charu Pragya, Sushmita Dev, for joining me.